Alright guys, in this video we're going to be performing one of the longest and hardest glitches of all time. But this glitch is worth it because it allows us to get access to the unbreakable MSG aka Message Not Found Master Sword. The sword that we've been waiting patiently for so long is finally available. And like I said, this glitch is going to be one heck of a hassle, but I tried my best to find the easiest method for you guys. All the other videos that I came across require you to do a lot of Mineru FEs. And when I say a lot, I mean like 6 to 8 fuse entanglements back to back to back. And that could be extremely difficult if you don't know what you're doing. But luckily, I was able to achieve this entire glitch without having to do that terrifying amount of Mineru FEs. So it shouldn't be too difficult once you get past a couple of Mineru FEs using this method. Anyways, welcome to Game Time, legends. This glitch was one of the longest and most tedious glitches I ever did. So if you find this video helpful in any way, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button to show your appreciation. And with that being said, let's get into it. Okay, so in order to successfully perform this glitch and get access to the MSG Master Sword, we're going to have to perform a variety of other glitches. So first things first, we're going to have to lock the shield and weapon into the prologue in order to get access to them at the beginning of the game. In order to do this, we're going to have to fuse, entangle, and zuggle a base weapon or shield and then use a method called recall lock. But it is quite a lot, so I'm just going to go through it step by step and show you exactly how it's done. So once you have everything you need, you want to teleport to In-sia Shrine and go to this location. This area is a call zone, so we'll be able to perform all the glitches that we need. First, pull out a control stick and then push it all the way up to the wall. And when doing this, you want to make sure Link is standing somewhere in this gray area right here. This is the best location. He won't be too far and he won't be too close. And of course, since this is a call zone, if the steering stick isn't targeted, it will disappear, aka get called, so it needs to be targeted with Ultra Hand at all times. Once you're in the right location, just switch from Ultra Hand to Fuse, and then hit minus to go into the menu. Then go and watch a memory. Skip the memory, and once you're here, you want to be really quick with the next step. Next, hit B to come out the menu, and as fast as possible hit ZL in order to fuse. You'll know if you did it correctly when the ZL button lights up. Next, run up to where the steering stick was, and before it fuses to your shield, hit minus to go in the menu and watch a memory. Skip the memory and watch another memory, so that's 2 memories back to back. Next, hit the plus button and drop the shield that you currently have equipped. Switch to another shield, equip it, and then unequip it. If you did it correctly, you'll see the shield and the steering stick drop right behind you. If you didn't do it correctly, you'll see the shield drop behind you and the steering stick is right where you left it. If that's the case, just try again. And before I continue, I just want to mention that there are 2 other ways that you could accomplish this. One method is by pressing L and B at the same time and immediately after ZL. I'm not going to be using this method because it's a little more complicated. The good thing is that you don't have to watch any memories using this method, but it is a little more tedious, so I won't be doing it. But if you know how to, you can. For the other method, which I think is the best, instead of running up to the steering stick and hitting minus to watch a memory, you would run up to the steering stick before it fuses to your shield and hit the L button to bring up the ability wheel. And then you go to the map. Once in the map, you'll go and watch a memory, then do the same steps. So you'll drop the current shield, select another shield, equip it and unequip it. This method is the one I favor the most because it's very simple and you don't have to watch 2 memories. Later on in the video, I will be using this method, but to each his own, you can use whatever method you want. Okay, so now that's out of the way, let's continue. Now, pick up the shield that you just dropped and step on the steering stick. Hit the left arrow on the D-pad to bring up the shield menu. Now switch shields and come out of the menu. As soon as you come out of the menu, hit X or B to disengage from the steering stick, or else you'll clip and fall through the ground and have to start over. If you have your controls reversed, it'll be a little bit more difficult because you'll have to hit X instead of B. So I recommend having your controls at default. So all you basically have to do is smash the B button and you'll be fine. You won't fall through the ground. And make sure you actually switch shields, because in my first attempt at doing this, I accidentally hit the B button too early in haste of not falling or clipping through the ground. and the shields never actually swap. So further on in the video, when I tried to Zuggle the weapon, it didn't give me the option to drop the weapon, which you will see further on in the video. So you want to make sure you swap. Now pull out another steering stick and jump on it so you could have access to the ability wheel. Next, fuse this control stick to your shield, and you could put this one to the side. Next, we're going to be setting stuff up to Zuggle a weapon. So in order to do this, we're going to have to perform a Mineru Fuse Entanglement, aka Mineru FE. So just summon Mineru, go to your weapon menu, and drop a weapon. Next, just hop up on Mineru, and stand in front of the weapon that you just dropped. Next, hit X to target the weapon, and you can fuse Entangle to any part of Mineru. In this case, I'm going to be using the left hand. So just hit L, and immediately after, hit the pause button. Now go to the shield that you have equipped, drop it, and select another shield, or equipped another shield. Now come out of the menu. If the weapon drops to the ground instead of fusing to Mineru, that means you did it correctly. But if it does fuse to Mineru, you'll just have to use another weapon and try again. And make sure you unequip your shield before you pick up the one that you just dropped, before you make the attempt to try again. So I just want to mention this before I continue. So when it comes to the Mineru Fuse Entanglement, it can be very difficult and tricky, especially if you don't have a lot of weapon or shield slots. Because unlike the other Fuse Entanglement method where you could reuse a weapon if you mess up, when you fuse a weapon or shield to Mineru, that weapon or shield is basically gone and you won't be able to use it again for the Fuse Entanglement. So you would have to use another one. And if you continue to be unsuccessful with the glitch, you will eventually run out of weapons and shield and you will have to start the game over. That is why it's very important to have a lot of slots, weapons, and shields before attempting to do this. Once you successfully perform the Fuse Entanglement, you want to unequip the shield before picking up the one that you just dropped, and then pick up the Fuse Entangle weapon. Make sure you don't have any weapon equipped before picking it up as well. Now, with the steering stick shield, we're going to Zuggle the weapon that we just Fuse Entangled, and that's going to be pretty easy. All you have to do is hit L, select the map option. Before it opens up, you want to mash the D-pad to open up the weapon menu. Drop the weapon that you have equipped and quickly mash again to open up the menu again. Now select a different weapon. Now quickly mash again to open up the shield menu. Drop the shield that you have equipped and quickly mash again and select another shield. Now let the map open up and then go to your weapon and drop your weapon. At least that's what you're supposed to do. Now in this case, when I tried to drop the weapon or shield, as you can see, it wasn't giving me the option to drop it. And this is exactly what I was talking about earlier. So when I was supposed to step on the steering stick and swap the weapon, I never actually swapped it. And you could tell because the other shield didn't highlight blue. So you always want to make sure your shield actually switches before you hit B to come out of the menu. Once you did everything correctly so far, you will have the option to drop. So just drop the weapon and come out of the menu. You will see that your steering stick shield and your weapon fall to the ground. Now unequip your shield and go close to any wall and then select Ultra Hand to pull Mineru back in. And once he reappears, you will see that you will be holding a Zuggle weapon in your hand. Now you don't have to worry about anything breaking, so you can just pick up your shield and weapon and you can swap shields as you like. Next, we're going to fuse Entangle a shield to a weapon. But first, hop on Mineru and pull out anything. I'm going to be using the steering stick and fuse it to the left hand, the part that we use to Zuggle. And once you do that, you'll have a permanent Zuggle. Now you're finished with Mineru for now, so you can dismiss him. Now we're going to fuse Entangle a shield to a weapon. Just pull out a shield and drop it on the ground. Now grab the shield with Ultra Hand and keep moving back until you reach the dark gray area I mentioned earlier, or wherever you prefer, and push the shield all the way up to the wall as far as possible. Switch to fuse and then hit minus to watch a memory. You can skip the memory like usual. Now hit B to come out of the menu and immediately after hit Y as fast as you possibly can. Now move up a little bit and before the steering stick reappears, hit minus to watch a memory again. Skip it and then hit plus to go into the menu. Now, unequip the weapon and then come out of the menu. If you did it correctly, you'll see the shield fall behind you. And now your shield will be fused entangled to your weapon. Make sure you don't have any shield equipped. Pick up that shield. Now we're going to warp to In-sia Shrine. So at this shrine, we're basically going to set up a recall lock with the help of the Zuggle Weapon and the shield that we just fused entangled. And this glitch will basically allow us to get access to our weapon menu at the beginning of the game. And I apologize if I do sound a little different because I do have a cold right now, so that is why. Once you get inside the shrine, you want to head all the way to the back. And once you reach this spot right here, drop your fused entangled shield on the floor and then pick it up with Ultra Hand. You want to raise it high up into the air, about the height of this line right here, then drop it. Now use recall, and once it reaches the same height again, you want to hit pause and then go to the title screen because we're going to be restarting the game. So select new game and just go through the whole story like you did when you first started playing it. Once you reach this point, make your way down the stairway and keep an eye out for a shield. It will be right in front of you, so you really can't miss it. Pick up the shield, and now you will have access to your shield menu. But as you can see, we still don't have access to the weapon menu, which is what we need in order to get the MSG Master Sword. Next, this is very important, make sure you manually save it. Select any of your main saves. And when I say main save, I mean any save that's in the overworld before the game was restarted. As you can see, I only have 2 of those saves left. If those 2 saves were overwritten, then I would be screwed. I would literally have to start over from the beginning. So I just want to emphasize before I continue, there will be a few main saves that are very important, and you want to make sure those saves never get overwritten because you will have to start over if they are. So just keep that in mind. And unfortunately, we all know they only give us 1 manual save. So those main saves will be autosave. The manual save will be the one that we just saved. And that save is extremely important as well, obviously, but we don't have to worry about it since it's a manual save. And as you can see, I warped back to the MSG Shrine because that is the best location. So we're going to have to do the same exact thing that we did with the shield, but with the weapon. Now head on over to this platform again, and you could also get rid of the Zuggle Weapon if you want, because we're not going to be using it anymore. In order to do this, just hit the right arrow on the D-pad to open up the weapon menu and drop the weapon that you are holding. You should see both weapons drop to the ground. So like I mentioned earlier, we're going to be doing the same exact step to prep for Zuggle and Recall Lock, but with the weapon this time, because we need to get access to the weapon menu in the Prologue. So pull out the steering stick, grab it with Ultra Hand, get in place, and push it all the way to the wall. Then switch to Fuse, and then hit minus to go and watch a memory. Skip it, and once you reach this point, when you hit B to come out of the menu, instead of hitting ZL like before, you're going to hit Y, because remember, we're fusing the weapon now instead of the shield. So immediately hit Y after coming out of the menu and run forward and hit L this time before the steering stick gets uncalled. Select the map option and then hit plus to go to your weapon menu. Now drop the weapon that you have equipped, switch to a different weapon, equipped it and unequipped it, then come out of the menu. In this case, as you can see, I wasn't successful. Remember, if you see those green fuse particles by the steering stick, that means you did it wrong, period. So you would have to start over. But once you don't see anything, just come out of the menu and voila, you should be good to go. So just pick up your weapon and hop on the steering stick like usual. Swap weapons and mash to get out before you clip. Then pull out another steering stick to get access to the ability wheel. Then fuse the steering stick to your weapon. Once that's done, we're going to be doing the same exact step with Mineru like we did before. So that'll be fuse Entanglement and Zuggle. Now summon Mineru and drop his shield. Next, jump on Mineru and then go in front of the shield and target it by hitting X. And just like before, you can fuse to any part of Mineru, but I'm going to be using the left hand. So hit whatever part you want to fuse to Mineru and then immediately after hit the pause menu. Well, technically it's not immediately. Give it like a half a second, then hit pause. because if you do it too early, it will not work. Now drop your steering stick weapon, equip another weapon, and come out of the menu. If you see both the steering stick weapon and your shield drop without fusing to Mineru's hand, that means you did it correctly. Now hop off of Mineru, and before you pick up the weapon that you just dropped, make sure you unequip the weapon that you're holding. And if your attempt fails, which might happen a few times, you want to make sure you always do this before you make the attempt to try again. Now pick up your shield, and we're going to Zuggle the shield the same way we Zuggled the weapon earlier. So hit L to bring up the ability wheel, go to the map menu. Before the map pops up, mash the left arrow on the D-pad to bring up the shield menu. Drop the shield that you have equipped, immediately mash again, and select another shield. Now immediately mash the right arrow on the D-pad and drop the weapon that you have equipped, immediately mash again, and select another weapon. Then let the map menu open. Go to the shield that you have equipped, drop it, and then come out of the menu. Now hit L and activate Ultra Hand so Mineru could come back to you. And then once he reappears, you should see a Zuggle Shield on your back. Now pick up your weapon and shield, and now you should have 2 shields on your back. Once you successfully Zuggled your shield, hop up on Mineru's back and fuse anything to its left hand in order to make the Zuggle permanent. In this case, I'm going to be using the steering stick like before. Once that's done, you're free to dismiss Mineru. Next, we're going to be fuse entangling the weapon to our Zuggle Shield, the same way we did earlier with the shield. So pull out a weapon and grab it with Ultra Hand. And once you're in place, switch to fuse to activate fuse storage, and hit the minus to go to the menu and watch your memory. Skip the memory, then come out of the menu and immediately after hit ZL to fuse. In this case, the weapon was fused directly to the shield, so it was a failure, so I have to try again. Okay, so run up, and before the weapon gets on called, hit L and then go to your map. Now go to your shield menu and deselect your shield, or unequip your shield. Come out of the menu, and if you see the weapon fall on the ground without fusing to your shield, that means you did it correctly. Now it's time to warp to recall. So we're going to be heading back to In-sia Shrine to set up a recall lock so we could have access to the weapon menu in the beginning of the game. So once in the shrine, just like before, we're going to go to the same place that we were. Run all the way to the back of the shrine. And go right to this area. Alright, and like before, we're just going to drop the weapon on the floor and use Ultra Hand. We want to bring the weapon up to the same place like we did before, to the line, and drop it, and then use recall. Once it reaches the height of the line, hit pause and then go back to your manual save. And voila, if you did everything correctly, you will see the weapon there waiting for you patiently so you can pick it up, and now you will have access to your weapon menu in the prologue. Boom. And of course, the next step is the most important of all. Make sure you save it. So put down another manual save and reload the game back to the In-sia Shrine. Next, we're going to set up a port that will allow us to get to Ganondorf in the beginning of the game. And the thing I like about this glitch is that even though it's pretty long and has a variety of stages, once you complete the stage, it's pretty much locked in. So once you don't override that manual save, you're pretty much good to do whatever you want until you're ready to go on to the next step. So for example, before I continued, I wanted to collect more weapons just in case, so I went around and collected more tree branches. So once you're ready, just head back to this location, and we're going to be doing the same thing like we did before. So just do the fuse storage, fuse entanglement with the steering stick, just like the first 2 times. and jump on the steering stick, switch weapons, mash B to get out, then jump on another steering stick and then fuse. Now we're going to fuse entangle a shield to a shield, using the same exact method just like before. Everything's pretty much redundant, so you pretty much know what to do when it comes to the fuse entanglement and zuggling and all that stuff. And since this video is very long, I'm going to try to fast forward and skip out some of the redundancy without skipping out any details that I haven't gone over yet. Okay, so once you've successfully fuse entangled your shield to a shield, next step, we're going to take it to the closest like and feed it to that like. So we're going to build a simple contraption. This is the one that I'm going to build. You just need one wing, a steering stick, and a rocket. And we're good to go. So just fuse the fuse entangle shield to the wing, get a rocket, and shoot off. And you want to make sure you go as low as possible, because if not, you will miss your stop and this will happen. And you'll either have to start over or try to make your way back up, which is a major pain. And actually where I wasn't in a bad place at all. I could have made it work, but I accidentally jumped off instead of just disengaging the steering stick. If I had just disengaged and recalled the wing, it would have worked perfectly. But no, I had to jump. So be mindful, make sure you don't jump, because when you jump, it's basically a done deal. So once you successfully landed on the ledge, pick up the shield with Ultra Hand and go to the hole and extend the Ultra Hand out as far as possible and try to get it to drop on the second level in the corner without it falling all the way down, because that is where the like is. So basically, we're going to let the like consume the shield, then we're going to perform Zuggle and then kill the like to get the shield back. Alright, so first, you want to shoot the like with an arrow. You can use whatever you want to shoot it, just stun it. That'll give you the opportunity to put the shield nearby. And you want to make sure it sees the shield and it's targeting the shield, because if not, it either won't strike at all and then start attacking you, or if it does strike, it will strike at something else. Which in this case, it would be you, because obviously there's nothing else there. Which is exactly what happened on my first attempt, as you can see. But once it sees the shield, it will strike at it and swallow it up. And once it does that, the next step is to perform Zuggle. Just like before, hit L to open up the ability wheel, select the map options before the map opens up, mash the left arrow on the D-pad to open up the shield menu, and proceed with the following as before. And I hope you guys understand everything up to this point, because I know it's very long, and that's exactly why I have to speed it up at times. Okay, so now that you're in your map, go to your shield menu and then drop your shield. So you should see both your steering stick, sword, and shield fall on the ground. So you could just pick up your steering stick, sword, because you won't be using it anymore, and pick up your shield and unequip it. Now we need to kill this like in order to get the shield back. Now find your shield and pick it up. As you can see, I was having problems finding mine. And that's because when I killed the like, it actually fell all the way to the bottom where the moblins are. So I had to go down there and wipe them out. Well, obviously I wiped them out first. Yeah, so if you can't find your shield when you kill the like, possibly that's because it fell down to the bottom. So make sure you check down there before you start to panic. And there it is. So like I said earlier, make sure you don't have anything equipped. Pick it up and let's head back to the MSG Shrine. And of course, the most unexpected, annoying part in TOTK, the thunderstorm. You may run into this. If that's the case, you would either have to go to another location, which would be Tarrytown, most recommended. Because you could also do the glitch there, but I prefer the previous location at the MSG Shrine. The other option is to use non-metal weapons, or you just gotta wait for the storm to go away. Yeah, but those storms could be a real unexpected nuisance. and you can't avoid them, so you just gotta work around them. So once you reach your designated location, whether here or the Shrine, just gonna drop your shield, and now we're gonna create a port to recall, which will allow us to use recall lock to get our fuse entangled item down to Ganondorf. Same thing that we did earlier with the sword and the shield. So we're just repeating the process. If you are at the Shrine, you basically know what to do. Just repeat the same fuse entanglement steps and you will be good to go. But once you're here, all you want to do is open up the door. If the door doesn't open up, that means the Hudson sign right here on the right is in the doorway. So in order to get it out the way, you want to jump over the cliff right on the right hand side, and you'll see a little cave right in the center of the cliff. Go inside the cave, and once you reach all the way inside, just use ascend and you'll be able to get into the room. Once the door opens up, just place the steering stick right in front of the doorway, about right here. You could use Ultra Hand to get it where you want it. Next, just step back to about this location right here where you see the desk is, and then you want to use fuse storage. So switch to fuse. Now hit minus and go and watch a memory. Skip the memory, and once you're here, hit B to come out of the menu, and immediately after hit ZL. And once again, once you see that ZL button highlight or light up white, that means you did it correctly. Now run up towards the doorway, and before the steering stick reappears and fuses to your shield, hit L and go to the map option. Let the map open up, and then go to your shield menu. Drop your current shield and then equip another one. Remove it and then come out of the menu. If you did it correctly, you'll see the steering stick and shield drop behind you. Pick up the shield and do the same steps as before. Jump on the steering stick, switch to a different shield, then jump on another steering stick to activate the ability wheel. Now unequip your shield and go pick up the shield that you placed in the corner after coming from the like. Now fuse the steering stick that we just fuse entangled to that shield, and let's head to In-sia Shrine. Here we're going to be setting up the recall lock in order to get the fuse entangled shield down to Ganondorf. Alright, so once you're in the shrine, walk all the way down to the bottom of the steps. Then drop your shield. Now use Ultra Hand to pick it up and bring it up to about this height. Now switch to recall. And once recall is activated, hit the pause button and then go back to any one of your previous saves. Now I'm going to stress this, because this is extremely important from here on. That autosave that just saved at this shrine above, that cannot be overwritten at all costs. If it is overwritten, you're going to have to start back from this point, no matter how far you reach in the whole process. So make sure it's not overwritten at all. And if for some reason it's about to be overwritten by the other saves, all you have to do is just go back to that shrine and let it autosave again, so it will push the autosave back to the top, because you don't want it to be overwritten, because we need the recall lock fuse entanglement shield. And that is exactly what we're going to be doing after these next steps, just to be on the safe side. Okay, so now we're going to be heading to a specific location on the map. But before we do, make sure you have a travel medallion available. Okay, so this location has to be the exact coordinates. If not, it won't work. And those special coordinates are none other than 0000. -0085. Z coordinate 0017 doesn't really matter. And the closest shrine to those coordinates is the In-sia Shrine. Once you're there, place a pin at that location so you know exactly where it is, because we're going to be heading back to this exact location later on in the video. Now switch to the depths and place a pin there as well. Now we're going to head to this specific location in the depths. So make sure you have a steering stick and some fans to build this contraption, so we could fly over to those coordinates. And if you were following Tears of the Kingdom from the beginning, when people were building all sorts of contraptions and builds with these devices, you know that this is one of the best flying device to use. But it is a little tricky to build because the fans need to be perfectly aligned in order to get the perfect flight, or else it will tilt while flying. But if it's not, it'll still work. It's fine. Okay, so once you reach the location where the pin is, just find the exact coordinates and then place a medallion right there. So now we're going to head back to In-sia Shrine, where we perform the recall lock, just to push the autosave all the way to the top, and also to check to see if you did it correctly. Once you see the steering stick still floating in the air, you did it correctly. And like I said earlier, you always want to make sure you have one of these saves with recall. And luckily, the method that I use, you don't really have to worry about it because it doesn't really trigger a lot of autosaves unlike a lot of other videos that I've seen. So you should be fine once you follow along. If you decide to take a break and do something else, you want to keep that in mind and make sure you don't override the autosaves with the recall lock. So head back on over to this location, and just a heads up, these few steps may be a little tricky, so if you have to start the game over a few times, don't beat yourself up. So we're going to be doing a Mineru fuse entanglement, following up with a coal fuse, then follow up with another Mineru fuse entanglement. And if you mess up too many times, you will run out of weapons and you will have to start over. So you may want to practice a little bit, I guess. But if it happens, like I said, don't beat yourself up. Just keep trying. So just like before, summon Mineru, jump on his back, and then drop any weapon that you want to fuse entangle. Now target the weapon by hitting X, and like before, you could attach it to any part of Mineru's body. In this case, I'm going to be using the left hand again. Next, hit L, and in about 0.5 seconds, hit the right arrow on the D-pad to bring up the weapon menu, then come out. As you can see, my first attempt failed because the tree branch fused to Mineru's arm. So if that happens, just try again. So if it falls like this, that means you successfully did it. Now, pick up the weapon, and next, we have to do coal fuse. So pull out a steering stick and place it near a wall. The goal is to try to get Mineru to come back to you. The moment he turns into a dotted light and is about to enter the pure pad, you want to hit ZL just before he does. And if the steering stick drops on the ground instead of fusing to your shield, that means you did it correct. Now there are two other scenarios that can occur. If you do it too early, the steering stick will fuse to your shield. And if you do it too late, nothing will happen. But once you did it correctly, next, jump on the steering stick, swap weapons, hit B, and get off the steering stick before you fall off the map. Now, fuse that steering stick to your weapon. The next couple steps, we're going to Mineru fuse entangle a shield, and then perform Zuggle. It's the same exact steps as before, so you should know what to do. So just pull out a shield and proceed with the usual steps. Now pick up the shield and then perform Zuggle. Now go to your shield menu and drop your shield. Come out the menu and you should see the tree branch, steering stick, and shield drop to the ground. Now we want to do just like we did before. Activate either fuse or ultra hand to try to get Mineru to come back to you. And once he goes into the pure pad and comes back, you will see this Zuggle Shield. So it seemed like this shield got Zuggled to his arm instead of his back because I was already in the battle position. Next, hop up on Mineru and pull out a steering stick. And just attach it to your left hand, or whichever part of Mineru you use to do the fuse entanglement. Once you attach the steering stick, that means the Zuggle is permanent. So now we're going to reload the game back to In-sia Shrine. And as you can see, there are two shields visible, the one that I have equipped and the Zuggled one. So now we're going to fuse entangle a control stick to a shield and then perform recall lock on that control stick. So pull out the control stick, get it into position, switch to fuse, and then go and watch a memory. Come out of the menu and immediately hit ZL. Now walk up towards the steering stick before it gets uncalled, pull up the ability wheel and go to the map menu. Now go and watch another memory, skip it, and once you're out, hit the plus button and then go to your shield menu. Now unequip your shield and come out of the menu. If you did it correctly, you should see the steering stick fall behind you. Now use Ultra Hand to pick up the steering stick and move it to this location. Now switch to recall. As soon as you activate the recall, pause the game and reload back to the MSG Shrine. And finally, the last few steps before we head on over to Ganondorf. So once we leave this area again, here we come, MSG. Once you come back, you should see the steering stick still floating here in midair. Now we're going to do the same fuse entanglement, but with the weapon this time. For some reason, I had a few issues with these last steps, because they weren't working out the way they usually do. So I had to use my brain and improvise. As you can see, the first issue is that the control stick, instead of falling behind me when I fuse entangle it, it falls onto the ground. So I wasn't able to get access to it no matter what I did. So I had to start over. And it happened a few times. If this happens to you, you could just do the same thing that I did. In order to resolve the issue, I just placed the hover stone onto me and then continued with the fuse entanglement steps. Okay, so after this step is the final step before we head on off to Ganondorf. And there's two ways I'm going to go about doing this step. And like I mentioned earlier, it was giving problems, so I had to use my brain and improvise. And luckily, the second method that I used worked. So if you run into the same issue like I did with the first method, just use the second one and you will be fine. So for the first method, activate the hover stone and fuse the steering stick to it. Now climb up the wall, and once you're up there, use Ultra Hand to try to grab the steering stick and bring it up to you. Now get up on this ledge right here and grab the stone with Ultra Hand. Now push the stone out as far and as high as possible, about right here. Now run onto the hover stone and use Ascend. If for some reason you can't use Ascend, just bring the stone down a little lower and try again. Now go into the menu and drop the weapon. As soon as you exit the menu, immediately press A to fall through the stone. And as soon as Link starts falling, immediately press B so he won't fall through the ground. Now use your arrow to shoot and deactivate the stone so it will fall. And then grab your weapon. Now pull out another steering stick and hop on it to activate the ability wheel. Then load the game back to the MSG Shrine again. And that's exactly what I was doing wrong. At this moment while I was editing the video, I decided to go back to find out what the problem was. And to my surprise, I found out what the solution was and what I was doing wrong. Instead of teleporting back to the MSG Shrine, I kept loading the game back to the shrine instead, which caused the steering stick to disappear. And that's not supposed to happen, because that control stick is very important and is needed in order to complete the glitch. But after we perform the glitch when we fall through the stone, that control stick automatically gets tied to the stone with no way of detaching it or being able to use it. The only way to get access to it again is by leaving the location, which you could either do by reloading the game or teleporting to the nearest shrine. Long story short, just teleport back to the MSG Shrine instead of loading the game back there, and you should be fine. Once you see the control stick still sitting there patiently waiting for you to come back, just pick it up with Ultra Hand and place it in the calling area. Now I'm not going to go over the second step in extensive details because this video has been long enough, okay? But I will briefly explain what I did. So the ultimate goal in order to continue on with this glitch is to get the steering stick in the calling area. So what I did was just the same exact step that I did with the hoverstone earlier. I did the same thing but made sure that it was in the call zone. This is what it looked like in the end, and it worked just fine. This is what I had to do since I wasn't able to resolve the issue with the first method before. So whichever method you do decide to use, once you get the steering stick in the calling area, just go and grab the other steering stick that is floating in the air, the one that you used the recall lock on. Now grab the steering stick with Ultra Hand and bring it on over to this location where we're going to be building the contraption to fly on over to Ganondorf. So now we need to build a flying contraption to take this steering stick all the way to the coordinates that was mentioned earlier. And this is the contraption that I'm going to be using. So once everything is set and the steering stick is fused to the aircraft, we need to head to this specific location on the map where the coordinates that I mentioned earlier was. I thought I already pinned it earlier, but I guess not. Anyways, let's head on over. So once you've landed in the area, detach the steering stick from the aircraft and then turn it upside down so that you can pick it up above your head. Once you've had it lifted up above your head, walk on over to those exact coordinates. Once you've reached the exact coordinates, hit the right arrow on the D-pad and drop the weapon that you have equipped, and you should see Link get called. Now, go to the map menu and teleport right to the medallion you placed in the depths earlier. When you reappear, if you did everything correctly, you should see Link clip out and start drowning in the water multiple times. This is normal, so don't do anything, just wait it out. And just so you know, I have everything sped up times 5 right now for time purposes. So once you do it real time, it may take a little while, so just be patient. And make sure you have a lot of food or fairies, because if you do die in this process, you will have to start over from the last point with Mineru. Eventually, you'll see Link start to fall, and you want him to continue falling until you see the third coordinate, which is the Z coordinate, reach anywhere between -133 and -135. I didn't do this, but you can hit R to dive in order to speed up the process because it will take a little while. Soon as it reaches -134, pause the game and reload your manual save at the beginning of the game. And finally, after decades and centuries of glitches upon glitches, we finally made it here. But don't get too excited yet, because it is still possible that you can make a mistake. But no worries, I got your back. Just continue to follow what I do, and you should be fine. First, open your shield menu and drop your shield. You should see 2 shields drop. Pick up both of the shields. If you try to move around, you'll see that Link will be stuck in one area, unable to move. No worries, just swap to the shield with the steering stick. If it's already equipped, just swap to the other shield and swap back. And then you should be free to walk around. Now unequip the steering stick shield. And this is very important. Make sure you unequip it before you go on to the next step. Now walk on over to your right and you should see the recall locked steering stick shield floating in midair. Just equip it and walk over to where Ganondorf is. While staring at Ganondorf's decrepit, corrupted, gloom-filled body, press and hold R like you're about to fling the sword and finish him off with the final blow. But instead of doing that, just go into your menu. Now go to your weapon menu and drop the Master Sword and switch to a different weapon. So same exact thing with the shield. Drop the shield that you currently have equipped and equip another one. And finally, this is literally the final step. If you do it correctly, then congratulations. If not, try again. Now hit the plus button 2 times in a row as fast as possible. If you see the glow of the Master Sword in the background after doing this, you'll have to try again. So hit B to come out of the menu, and the recalled lock steering stick shield will go back in its original place. Now, make sure you unequipped any shield or weapon that you have before you proceed. This is extremely important. If you don't, you're in for a nightmare. So unequip both shields and weapons, and then pick up your Master Sword and pick up the floating steering stick shield and try again. And boom, once you hit the plus button 2 times in a row as fast as possible and you don't see the Master Sword in the background, congratulations, you've finally done it. You could finally reap the rewards of your hard work. So now, just drop the weapon that you have equipped and reload the autosave at In-sia Shrine. Once you enter the shrine, you should see the unbreakable MSG Master Sword patiently waiting for you to obtain it and start slaying some monsters. So make sure you have space in your inventory and pick it up. And now you have your own precious MSG Master Sword, which can be duplicated. So literally, you could have infinite Master Swords now if you want. And last but not least, remember to save and you're all set and done. Well, this video has been long, way longer than I expected, but that's about it. Hope you got something from the video. If so, hit that like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next. Game Time Legends is out.